Hi everyone, and welcome to So Fun for January. My name is Rosemary. I hope you all had a great holiday season. We're into winter and January, and of course the next projects that we have to start thinking about is February and Valentine's Day. And I think I got a little bit too much pink this time, but it was really fun because we have some great fabric collections for you to finish up some quick little projects and everything. I think what I want to do is I want to start with a shirt though this time. So I made this little shirt. One of the things I do, I teach a class in the Arvada store on how to make garments, and a shirt is almost a perfect way to learn how to make a garment because you learn how to make a collar, you learn how to do cuffs, you learn how to do a front placket and buttonholes and everything. So, and one of the most important things is how do you ease a sleeve in and get it so that it looks nice and not all poofy like Snow White, but more like a man's shirt. This is a woman's shirt pattern, so it has several different options for different bra sizes and also for where you're going to put your darts and everything. So it's a very nice, fun shirt. Of course, I can't do anything really plain, so I thought about a denim shirt, but this fabric was absolutely adorable. I found it online. It's got sewing machines and it's got cats. So it's a perfect thing to make a really fun shirt out of. This is the pattern. So it's just basically says women's classic shirt pattern. You can put pockets on it if you want to put pockets on it, but you don't have to. And I decided because my fabric was so busy, I was not going to put pockets on it. But isn't that cute? It's just a really fun little shirt that I'm going to have a lot of fun wearing. Another thing that we got for you is, excuse me, it's an old-fashioned buttonhole cutter. And all you do is it's very sharp on the end and you push down on the middle of your buttonhole and it cuts it open for you. Rather than using a seam ripper and taking the chance of sliding it too far, you do have to do this on your mat. Don't do it on your dining room table. It'll make you very unhappy. Another clue that I would like to give you is make sure your shirt is open and you're just going through the top layer of your shirt. Ask me how I know that, but it's a really good tool to go with this pattern. Okay, so the next thing that I have for you, I always try and do some kind of a fun craft that's not really garments and not really quilting. And from the Funky Friends factory, we have this. It's called Digger and Dixie the Dachshund. I grew up with dachshunds when I was a little girl. I have to say I'm not a crazy dog lover, but the one dog that'll always steal my heart is a dachshund. And I thought this one was really fun because it's made with really fun fabrics and everything. And it wasn't difficult at all to make. I made mine out of black polka dots, and then I trimmed him with red polka dots on his belly and velvet for his nose and his ears. But he came out really cute, was really easy to make, and you want to make sure that you stuff him really good and tight because he's not going to stand up if you don't make sure he's stuffed really good and tight. The bottoms of his feet are also velvet, and I use little button eyes for his eyes. But isn't he cute? I did not make the little girl Dixie, but I could have. Then I'd have a little set of two of them together. So that's by Funky Friends, and it's called Digger and Dixie the Dachshund. I don't have it here on the table, but I also brought in a really great stuffing tool that you can use in order to get that stuffed as good and tight as you want it to be. My rule of thumb is keep pushing, and when you think you're finished, you probably have more that you have to put in there. Just keep pushing it in there till you can't get any more in there, and you'll be much happier with your results. Okay, so instead of a bag, I thought it would be fun to do these little things. They're called shell shelters, and they're little turtles. Aren't they cute? And they give them to you in 3 different sizes that you can make. So I made 2 of them. I made the biggest one, which is this little guy right here. And then I made a little one like this. And what's fun about them is they have a little hidden pocket on the back that you put a zipper in. It actually tells you just to put zipper pull in it, but I put 2 because I thought that would be fun to open them on both ways. You could make them for a special child that they can hide their little treasures in it. You can make the big one and make it a little pajama bag that they can put on their bed. It's basically, I just use scraps. I went through all of my batiks and I did not stick with turtle colors, but I thought they came out really fun. When you've done the entire shell and you're going to quilt it, I quilted this on my Solaire sewing machine, and then you're going to cut a bias strip and sew the belly with the zipper on it to the top that's already quilted, and put binding all the way around it, and add the little feet in there when you're sewing your binding closed. Then you make the head and slip the head into the top and sew it in place. So it wasn't very difficult at all. It was kind of a fun project. I played around with the idea of the eyes. It basically tells you to make a couple of circles and sew them on. And I had these little black beads, which I thought were really cute. And then on this one, I had some of those locking eyes that are a little safer for the really little ones. They lock in there really tight. So I put those on this little guy too. But I just thought they were a nice, fun little project, kind of a cross between a stuffed animal and a purse. So it'll teach you a little bit about some of those techniques that you do when you're making a purse. And I brought in a couple of colors of zippers. Seems like we don't always have zippers when we want them. So I think I have it in light green, dark green, and blue. And in order to do that, we also have the zipper jig. I'm a huge fan of this. I have to say, before I started doing So Fun, I had never put a zipper pull on a zipper before. I'd always use a pre-made zipper, and that was a little bit scary for me. But you put your zipper pull in here and you pull your zipper through. It is absolutely wonderful. It's a great little gadget. It's got kind of a rubber on the bottom, so you can set it on the edge of your table and finish up your zippers really fast. I thought that was fun. And then we also just have this thing called zipper widgets. It's in lime green. You can, maybe you don't need it for these little turtles. You don't need a pull on it. But if you wanted to put a pull on the end of something, or make a bag that has something on it, you can put things on the end of your zipper and it'll be great. So we got a couple of different things you can do to finish up these little turtles. Okay, so before I go to the next project, I wanted to show you this. So I got for Christmas from my friends a jigsaw puzzle that had a quilting theme. And I'm still working on it because I do it here and there in the evening times when I'm watching television. I thought this one was really fun because it's not just quilts, but it's quilts and quilt fabric and a table and some quilts hanging on the wall. It's like a little quilt shop. It looks like a really fun one. There's nothing better on a cold winter night than sitting there working on a jigsaw puzzle. So that's, you know, now that Christmas is over and we got the Christmas tree down and everything, this is the next thing for you to get out and start working on. So I just thought that was a really fun idea. I also wanted to show you this little gadget here. This is really fun. If you do a lot of quilts, and obviously I do, I like to do a lot of quilts. Sometimes you're working on something and you cut all those little pieces and everything out and you're getting ready to do an applique or you're getting ready to do a little picture quilt. And so you're going to go to class and you have all these little pieces. So this is like a little, almost like an envelope. You unzip it and there's a place in here that you can stick your little pieces of stuff in, or you could use it for your tools. But what I use it for is just to put all those little pieces that I've already cut out on one of my quilts. And then when you get to class, you lay it flat on the table and you unzip it and you take your parts out. But these little snaps snap together like this. And now you have a tray that you can drop your scissors in and your rotary cutter and your pins and all those little things that have a tendency to travel when you're in class. They're all going to be together and they're not going to get confused with anybody else's stuff. So I thought that was fun. I am a huge fan of this turquoise color. So this is the one that I like, but they also have it in purple. So you get the one that you want to choose from. And we also brought in some more of the magic pins. You've probably seen them before. We've had them at So Fun before. I love these pins. They're heat resistant, so if you iron over the top of them, they're not going to melt. And I've melted pins in the past. But the reason I like them so much is they're very, very, very fine. They're actually a little bendable. And I heard somebody say they didn't like them for that reason, but I love the fact they're a little bit bendable, but they're very sharp. So they slide into the ends of whatever you're trying to pin very easily. You're not going to futz with it or snag your fabric. So I think you'll really like these pins. If you haven't picked up a set of them yet, this is a good time for you to do that. So I think the first project that I want to show you after all the little stuffed animals and everything, I have to say that this time I don't know how. I didn't set out to do it, but I have a lot of quilting projects, but I think you're going to find they're really fun. And the first one that I did, I wanted to make something for my little great-granddaughter who doesn't have a quilt from her big old Nana. That's what they call me. I thought this one would be really fun because it's all applique and it's little cute little applique animals all over it. And they're just really fun to do. They're nice and big. They're not going to be complicated with a lot of little parts. This one has got a rabbit and a beaver and a skunk and a moose. They're kind of like little woodland animals. The pattern maker is Amy Bradley Designs, and she gives you nice big pieces. You have, let me see if I can pull this guy out of here. You have huge pieces of paper in here that you're going to unwrap. And each one of them is numbered, and they have it in the pieces that you're going to cut out, and then they have it completed. So once you've done all your pieces and laid them out, you can lay it on top with a light box, see through it, and get them all in the right place if you're going to be that picky about it. I'll be honest with you, I'm not that picky about it. I cut them all out, I lay them, I go, that looks good, and then I iron it. And while we're talking about that, and I know I've said this before when I've done So Fun, I like the Steam-A-Seam. A Steam-A-Seam is very sticky, and you can actually trace on it very easily. Peel one side, stick it on your fabric, cut it out, stick it on the finished applique project, pick it up, lay it down, pick it up, lay it down, get it where you want it, and then iron it in one good iron, and it's done. There's none of that iron it onto a piece first and then cut it out and then iron it again, and sometimes, uh-oh, I got the iron too hot, now it won't stay, now, it's just a big problem. So Steam-A-Seam has become my favorite, and so we have that in here for you today. And I'm going to move a couple of these things. I don't know how I got these in the wrong order. Okay, so this is the one I made, and I wanted to show you on the back of the pattern. So this is the front of the pattern, and you can see it's all white with little animals. But if you don't want to make that one, on the back of the pattern, they have this one here, and it's got these little churn dash squares on it, and then the little animals. So pick the ones that you think are the cutest and do that, make a little bit smaller one. I don't think mine actually came out small because I put a big piece of sashing around it, but I did like the churn dashes. So there is my quilt. I think it came out really cute. I did scan a few of them after I ironed them on and did a blanket stitch around them into my Stellaire sewing machine and did the eyes. Because I don't want to do appliques on little teeny tiny eyes, and I didn't want to sew buttons on it because I was going to quilt it on my quilting machine. So most of the eyes and the little cheeks and the mouths are done in embroidery, but you don't have to do it that way if you don't want to. I went looking for woodland animal fabric and I couldn't find it anywhere. So my fabrics that go around the outside are actually zoo animals, but I don't think it's that important. I just thought it was a really cute, fun little quilt from my little great-granddaughter. And the back is this really soft, kind kind of minky fabric that's got animals on it too. So it'll be great. She's only 3 years old, so she's going to really like something that's really soft and fuzzy and everything. So that was a really fun quilt. Did not take that long to do, except for all the little blanket stitching around the outside of everything on there. So if you came to the Christmas party that we had in December, you know that our theme this year is going to be the Art to Heart on Wander Lane is the name of the quilt. And if you want to see a picture of it, on the back of this book, there's all the houses that will make a quilt. And we're going to be doing a class on it in the Arvada store, where we're going to do a block a month of all these little houses. Each one of the houses is themed for the month. So the January one had snowmen on it. The February one's got Valentine's. The March's got St. Patty's Day. So basically they all go in the order. And then there's all these little things that go around the outside that are basically pieced with triangles, half square triangles, corner triangles, snowballing, and it'll create a little square. So let me give you an idea. This is a little heart that's all done with different kinds of blocks and sewn together and made a heart. This is a little X, and they have X's and O's that you can do. So those go together really fast. And then the block of the quilt, the house, is this one right here. And we don't usually show things that aren't finished, but I'm going to sew this eventually into a whole quilt. And you will see little bits and pieces of it throughout the months as each one of the Sew Fun presenters shows a different block. But they're also going to show you some other ideas, because these books are just chock full of cute little ideas. The one on the back here has just got the bunny with the hearts and the X's and the O's on it. But on the inside, look at this one that's nothing but hearts all over it. Isn't that cute? Definitely makes you think of Valentine's Day. And then this one here on the bottom has got some little owls with hearts on them. So you don't have to stick with the house theme. You'll find all sorts of fun Art to Heart applique designs in this. And if you come every month, when we do Sew Fun, we'll have another book for you. And if you come to and take the class in Arvada, you will you'll be able to put together and make an entire quilt out of it. So for my project out of the book, instead of the houses, I made the owls, because I thought they were really cute. So here's the owls up here in the corner. And then there's a little ice cream down here that says, "You melt my heart." And then a couple more heart blocks. So that's just like a little mini quilt that you could put on a hanger and hang outside your front door. I usually put it over by where my plants are in my apartment on a little plant hanger or something like that. So I thought that one was really cute. But you're going to love this theme this year, because there's going to be something fun to applique every time. And you're going to need some more of that steam to get finished doing all those appliques. Uh-oh. Voila. Okay, so I have this great book right here. It's called 3 Times the Charm. If you are a beginner quilter or you want a quick and fast project, this is it. And it's called 3 Times the Charm because it's done with charm packs. So I thought this would be a really fun one to do some really fast and easy small quilts with it. You know that in Sew Fun right now and throughout this year, we are going to have all kinds of fabric for you to be able to buy, which is really fun for you to pick up a charm pack or a jelly roll or a layer cake that's full of coordinating fabrics, and we're going to have bunches of them for you available. So one of the ones that we have available for you is this one here. It's called Sweetheart, and it's got a whole bunch of little hearts and Valentine's Day fabrics in it. And another one that we have for you is called Love Blooms. And that's what I meant when I said I had a lot of Valentine's Day stuff, because lots of pink, lots of red, lots of really fun fabrics. So the first one that I did was This one, it's called Greta, and it's done in blue and greens, obviously, not done in pinks. But it's really, really simple. You sew to, it shows you down here how to cut your little 5-inch charm square up, and you waste this little teeny tiny piece. There's almost no waste whatsoever. So I thought that would be a really great one to do. And then it's sewn together. Let me see if I can. It's sewn together in strips where you just kind of cut it up, mix all your different charm pack squares up, sew them back together again. You get this great little block that's going all different directions. It kind of has like an optical illusion. That's not the right word, but you know it. It kind of fools your eye just a little bit. But isn't that fun? And I made it into a table runner. I put this on my Solaire, and I went into the design center and I just drew a bunch of hearts, and I duplicated them all over it. And then I did like an edge-to-edge quilting with a straight stitch and sewed the hearts on there. So you can kind of see them better a little bit back here on the back. I have to confess, I went and bought this fabric at Walmart because I was trying to find something that would go with my charm pack. But afterwards, I found out that in Littleton, we have a great sold by the yardage heart fabric that you could do. If you get the this charm pack, you're going to love this fabric to finish it up with, or put sashing on, or whatever you need to do. So I thought that came out really cute. And then the other one I did, this one, is called Fiona. And it's really just some 9 patches and then a square inside of a square. So it's a really simple basic quilt. It's a really great learner quilt. I used 1 charm pack, used almost the entire charm pack up, and I made this cute little baby quilt. And I just thought that one was really fun with those fabrics, lots of pink and red and everything. I don't think it took me more than an afternoon to put this together, and then I quilted it again with hearts all over it. But it's not necessarily Valentine's Day. It could be just a really cute baby quilt for that baby that you're expecting really soon here. So that was that one. Again, I used the same fabric on the back. So 2 little projects done in a very short time out of this book called 3 Times the Charm. Okay, so the next book that I have for you is called Jelly Roll Quilts Classic Collection. And this is a really nice book. And when they say classic collection, I think they mean there's a lot of the quilts in here that are what you would consider a classic quilt. And one of the ones that caught my eye right away was this one, and it's called Russian Dance. That's the name of it in the book. But it looks to me a lot like the double wedding ring quilt. And I have never made a double wedding ring quilt. So I thought that would be a really great project for me to do. So what I'm gonna do, what I did was I found some fabric. This is called a jelly roll. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I did not make this from a jelly roll. I made it from a layer cake. But I had found this fabric at a fabric store that I thought was just beautiful. It's kind of like what they would call the romance colors, very light pastel colors and everything. And somebody told me I was wrong, that is not a double wedding ring quilt, but I think that's basically what it is. And it was really a challenge for me to make. If you've never made one before, getting all those corners to come together was a little bit difficult, but I really liked the way it came out. I think it came out to be a really fun, small lap quilt. She teaches you in the book to do it as a paper piecing method. So I brought some paper piecing paper in for you to do it. And I asked somebody and they said, you just print it right on the paper. Well, I don't have a printer. So I just traced that half curve onto the paper, and then you cut the fabric in squares, you lay it on each piece, and you sew it directly on the paper until you get that curve, and then you tear the paper off, and then you sew the background pieces on it. The background pieces on this were actual fabric that I got at the Rocky Mountain Sewing in Arvada. The little tiny beige with the small flowers and the green with the small flowers is fabric we carry. I believe we have it in several of our stores, but it's a really fun fabric. And then once I got the quilt completely put together and everything, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to cut it with scallops around the edges. Not the classic way of cutting the scallops around the double wedding ring, but put a border on it and cut scallops. So I have this tool for you. It is a curve ruler, and I did not lay this down and cut around it because I was afraid I'd mess up my quilt, because I'd already put it all together and put it on the quilting machine and quilted it, and I wanted to make sure I did it right. So I used a friction pin and I drew the scallops, and there's little lines on the corners here for lining up from one scallop to the next scallop. We also brought in this Everstone handle so you can hold it as you put it down and draw around it. Make your scallops, make sure they all come out the right size in the right place, and then go back with a pair of scissors and cut them. One of the important things when you're doing this is that you want to make sure that you cut your binding on the bias, because you're going to go across all these curves and it's got to have a little bit of give. But it's sewed together very, very nicely. I had a few little puckers right here in the little valleys, but I'm not going to stress about that. I think in the end, it turned out to be a really, really cute quilt. It was a good experience for me. And those of you who are really picky and look really close are going to notice that every single one of my center squares are a little bit wonky. But again, you know, as they say, if you can't see it from a galloping horse, then it doesn't matter. So you can't see it from a galloping horse. So another one that I got from this was, and this is one of those where I didn't stick with the colors that was in the quilt. So this is called Lime and Soda. And you can see that this one is done in black and white with a very weird yellow color. And I'll be honest with you, when I first saw this, I did not think that was a very pretty quilt. But the idea of the squares and the triangles in different colors kind of made me think, you know what, I think this is going to be perfect for the jelly roll that I have. And we do have a jelly roll for you. This one is called well, Create Colorfully. But it's got a lot of really fun hearts and flowers, very Valentine's-like, but there's some greens in it as well. So a really pretty jelly roll, and I was able to make this quilt with this jelly roll. I did not have to buy any other fabric except for the background fabric, so I had to get that. So these are not done the way you would think they would be done. You actually make a 9 patch and then you cut it across at an angle, and then you add another triangle on the other side. So this is actually the 6x6 block right here. And then after you sew all 4 of those together, then you add another triangle on the other end, which creates this look. So it was really fun to do. I just had to make sure that I mixed it up really good, that I didn't have any colors that were too much alike next to each other. And then I went shopping and found this green fabric to go around the outside. I think it helped quite a bit to keep it from being too Valentine's-like. Really fun, pretty quilt, and I like the green so much that I backed it with it as well. I put it on my long arm and I quilted it with a heart pattern that was in the long arm. So it was a really fast, not complicated at all in order to make this, and I think it came out really fun. This book is chock full of things that you can make with a jelly roll. So you don't have to buy anything except for a little extra fabric to go with your jelly roll, and you'll come up with all sorts of really fun. Look how fun that one is. Just lots of blue colors and lots of stripping and everything, and you'll end up with a really pretty quilt. So this one, Jelly Roll Quilts, the classic collection. You know, one of the things I do when I'm looking for a pattern is I'm looking for something that's going to highlight my fabric. I don't necessarily do it exactly the way the person who made it in the book. So when you're looking through the book, make sure you think about, what is it I want to do, and is this quilt going to do what I want it to do? So the last book I want to show you is called Quilt The Rainbow. And as I just said, I don't necessarily go into something thinking I'm going to follow the rules that the author had in mind when they made the book. So it does say Quilt the Rainbow, but I didn't really necessarily quilt the rainbow in it. I just thought it had some fun quilts in it. And one of the first ones that I did was, this one is called Star Studded. And it's a whole bunch of stars going across the page. And yes, I think it's absolutely beautiful. It starts with pink and goes to green and then blue and works its way across the rainbow. So that one was really fun. But I had this Rosemary's Cottage. Isn't that funny? It's called Rosemary's Cottage. I couldn't resist it. And I was able to make this quilt with 2 charm packs. So I had to kind of fudge it just a little bit. You'll notice in this quilt that there's a few of the stars that aren't made from the same fabrics, but we tried to stay in the same color scheme. My friend Gail helped me with this quilt. So we stuck with all the blues in one places, the pinks in one places. It was just a really fun kind of scrappy quilt. We were able to use up those 2 charm packs and back it in white. And then we put this really pretty blue flower print that is actually a fabric that we have in the Littleton store and also in the Arvada store. Nice little lap quilt that didn't take very long to put together. So the last quilt that I have to show you, I have to tell you, I mentioned it before, I have some grown grandchildren that are in their 20s, and my grandson Michael asked me to make him a quilt. And I had been in California and went to a fabric store and found this really great fabric that's got kind of like Dungeons and Dragons or Lord of the Rings or any kind of fantasy mythology kind of fabrics. They're really fun. So what happens when you buy fabric like that is you think to yourself, I don't want to do a quilt that's going to cut that up. I've got this great warrior and this great ogre here. I'm not going to cut that up. And then I went to another store here in Colorado and found the dragons to go with it. Again, something I did not want to cut all up. So I started looking through the book. And so that's one of the things I do most of the time is I buy fabric and then I look for the quilt that's going to work. And I found this one in here that is called Crowning Glory. Let me see if I can find you a good picture of the quilt. I don't know if you can see that because it's yellow. But it's a basic little quilt with lots of great big huge squares in it. So if you bought some fabric that has Mickey Mouse on it and you don't want to cut Mickey Mouse up, you got to look for a quilt that's got nice big blocks in it. Or think about some of these embroidery designs that you see every time that Lynn shows you, like the bunny rabbits for Easter, and you want to make an Easter quilt. You've got Easter fabric, but you got to do embroideries on squares. So you want to look for something that's got a nice big square in it so you can put those embroideries right in the center of it. So that's what I did to choose this one. I bought a layer cake of batiks to finish it up, and then a really basic kind of a taupey off color to go the back of it. And I also had a border fabric that that's got castles in it to finish it up. So this is probably my biggest quilt that I made. Lots of fussy cutting. I had to be very careful as I cut out each one of these dragons to make sure that they turned the right way and everything. And I had this all over, again, something like Dungeons and Dragons. I think about that video game that all the kids play that has got all those trolls and ogres and everything in it. But I really like the way it came out. The colors are just beautiful. I had gone into another fabric store and was buying something else, and as I was leaving, I happened to look down and I saw this fabric of the Lord of the Rings map on the back of it, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I have to add that to that quilt that I'm making for Michael. So that's probably my favorite quilt from So Fun this time. Think about what you're making, what you might be able to do with the fabric that you have. Look through the book. I think you're going to find this has got some really fun quilts in it that have a lot of different squares that you can play around with and use your fabric to the best possibilities. I appreciate you coming and watching and seeing all the projects I have for you, and I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.